In Uganda, opposition leader Kizza Besigye of the Forum for Democratic Change has gained his freedom on bail after spending 6 nights in detention, along with 5 others. He was charged with inciting violence and breaching the peace of the country. Now, according to local media, Mr. Besigye was arrested last week after an opposition supporter was killed during a protest which the authorities declared illegal in Rukungiri, western Uganda. The protesters were marching against the ruling party plan to amend the constitution to remove presidential age limits, a move that will allow President Yoweri Museveni stand for a 6th consecutive term in 2021. Now, opposition members in the DR Congo have also been released after being arrested in the southeastern city of Lubumbashi for allegedly insulting President Joseph Kabila. Their release comes after a joint statement from EU officials and UN diplomats who expressed concern at restrictions on opposition. Several people died last year in protests against Kabila's refusal to step down at the end of his term. Parts of the country are in the hands of insurgents who say they will not stop fighting while he remains in power. Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission says there will be no voting before early 2019. As Togo faces more protests, many people in the capital, Lomé, say they are worried about where the country is headed, as the economic impact of the mass action is beginning to be felt among the masses there. While opposition demonstrations have been holding across the country since August, calling for an end to some 5 decades of rule by a single political family.
It seems like business as usual in Togo's capital, Lomé, despite growing tension and ongoing protests calling for an end to President Gnassingbe's rule. But many say the political crisis is having a negative impact on their livelihoods. Market vendors here say they are unable to make sales and are worried that there is no end to the country's current political impasse.
I can say we are shocked by the crisis in Togo. Nothing is working in the market. We are not making any sales. But we have children that depend on us and we have bills to pay. But nothing works. Nothing is working in Togo. And the president has to say something about this situation.
Gnassingbe's family has ruled the small West African country for 50 years, and frustration over the slow pace of reforms has slipped onto the streets several times since August and prompting United Nations call for action. On October the 18th, 4 people were killed in clashes between security forces and demonstrators, calling for an end to a half-century of Gnassingbe family rule. Opposition activists say they oppose a constitutional reform Gnassingbe proposes, which would allow him to rule the West African country until 2030. They are calling for his resignation.
We will free ourselves. We will fight by all means necessary. It's very important for us. We have the people on our side. In 2005, more than 1,000 Togolese people were killed before Gnassingbe came to power. If you go to Mango, there is no one left there. If you go to Shidoke, there is no one. That's what's happening in Togo right now.
Currently, Gambia and Togo are the only countries in the 15-nation ECOWAS bloc without time limits on mandates. ECOWAS sought to make this law across the region in 2015, but Togo and Gambia voted against it, although Gambia is now changing its constitution.
We call on Togo's neighboring countries to intervene. If the Togolese people feel bullied, they will look for refuge elsewhere, and these countries are the ones who will have to deal with the consequences. So they need to take this crisis seriously.
Criticism of Gnassingbe's government by foreign powers and other ECOWAS countries has so far been muted, perhaps because the Togolese leader holds the ECOWAS chairmanship until June 2018. The controversial constitutional reform will be decided by popular referendum after the bill failed to win approval from Parliament following a boycott by opposition lawmakers last month.